Emperor Dad took a fancy to a subject's wife, intending to forcefully take her into the palace. The subject pleaded with his life, but Emperor Dad clapped his hands and praised him. Perfect. After you're gone, your 80-year-old mother will be lonely and helpless. She might as well come into the palace to serve us too. I stepped forward to dissuade him, but he instead bestowed the subject's wife's son upon me. Don't you worry either. We father and daughter will each have one. Oh, one? One for each person? I knew my Emperor Dad was unreliable, but I didn't expect him to be unreliable to this extent. Back then, when the 9 princes vied for the throne, my dad, as the useless 10th son, tucked me under his armpit and returned to his fiefdom. From then on, he ate, drank, and made merry, enjoying himself immensely. No one expected that among the late emperor's 9 sons, some died, some were injured. The only one who survived had just sat on the dragon throne and been emperor for half an incense stick's time. He suddenly cried tears of joy and passed out. And once he passed out, he never woke up again. As the late emperor's last son, my dad became the lucky one and was invited back from his fiefdom overnight. He didn't even have time to wash his face before he was dressed in dragon robes and pressed onto the dragon throne. Just yesterday I was still calling my dad Prince Father, but when I opened my eyes again, he was Emperor Father. After court, my dad and I looked at each other. Looking at the magnificent palace hall, my dad chuckled, "We're rich, my little Yuna." He held me and spun me around, full of vigour. I just knew one day I would return to this forbidden city. I'm going to let everyone see what it means for a scoundrel to get their way. With old ministers helping to maintain control in court, just as the turmoil finally ended, some officials began to stir, attempting to send people into the emperor's harem. I am Daddy's only child. Mother even passed away the year I was born and Daddy never married again. But those officials didn't realise. When there's no danger, the emperor himself is the greatest danger. This one looks even younger than Yuna. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the emperor tossed those portraits. I am the emperor, not a beast. I'm here to find an empress, not to find a daughter. Those officials who had just taken concubines blushed, and someone bravely stepped forward. Your Majesty, currently the imperial harem is empty, and Your Majesty only has one princess. It's best to plan ahead. The emperor rested his chin in his hand and nodded thoughtfully. I heard Minister Song just took a new concubine. Is she your long-suffering wife's biological sister? Minister Song's face turned a shade paler. Your servant, your servant. The emperor was practically a devil incarnate. He waved his hand grandly. You already have new concubines. Why would you need a long-suffering wife? Since that's the case, I'll gladly accept. Attendants, deliver my decree, bestow the title of Empress upon Lady Song, and have her enter the palace immediately. The court erupted in an uproar. At that time, I was hiding in the curtains beside the dragon throne, eating grapes. Hearing this, I almost choked and coughed for a long time. Minister Song directly knelt down with a thud, his deeply lined face turning pale then green. Your Majesty! The emperor said amiably, What, you can't bear to? Come, speak into my dragon ear. The emperor beckoned, gesturing for Minister Song to come over. Several old ministers finally realised that the emperor before them was a mischievous devil, not someone to be easily handled at all. No one even backed him in the succession struggle, yet he still ascended the throne. Everyone's pleading gazes all fell upon the Prime Minister. He was an old minister who served 3 dynasties. Even the previous emperor had to give some consideration to the Prime Minister's words. The old Prime Minister tremblingly stepped forward. Your Majesty, I, your humble servant, believe this matter is improper. Forcibly taking a minister's wife, if this matter gets out, it will likely be condemned by countless people. The emperor immediately laughed. You old geezer can barely walk, yet the day before yesterday, you took a 17-year-old concubine. How come no one criticised you? Everyone was praising you for your virility. I'm just marrying an empress, and Lady Song herself hasn't said she's unwilling, yet you all are clamouring and being tedious. The old Prime Minister's cloudy eyes darted around. This old fox, refried countless times, was indeed calmer than others. I lifted a corner of the curtain and just happened to see him give a look to the side. Soon, a minister stepped forward to remonstrate with his life. "If your majesty insists on marrying Madame Song as empress, then this humble servant will have no choice but—" He glanced at the stone pillar beside him. "Wait." The emperor mercifully opened his imperial mouth. Minister Song, overjoyed, burst into tears and suddenly raised his head. Everyone was waiting for the emperor to retract his decree, only I quietly closed my eyes. They still underestimated my dad too much, vainly attempting to threaten him with death. "I remember, you still have an 80-year-old mother at home, don't you?" The minister who remonstrated to the death was puzzled and nodded. "Excellent." The emperor immediately clapped his hands in praise. "Then go ahead and die. After you're gone, your 80-year-old mother will be alone and helpless. I'll gladly accept her too. She can come to the palace with Madame Song to serve me." The emperor didn't even spare his old mother, who was in her 80s. The ministers looked at each other, and now no one dared to speak, fearing that if they said one more word, even the female mosquitoes in their homes would be gladly accepted by the emperor. But I started to get anxious. How bad Minister Song is hard to say, but he has a son, whom I met 3 months ago when I snuck out of the palace. He was simply stunningly handsome. Appearance, talent, everything was outstanding. If his mother were forcefully brought into the palace by my dad, then he and I would have no chance in this life. Thinking of this, I pulled open the curtain and walked out. "Imperial father, hold on." The pleading gazes of the officials shifted from the old prime minister to me again. After all, I was the emperor's only daughter, and he even raised me with his own hands. Perhaps the emperor would listen to a word of my advice, but I didn't actually have much confidence myself. "Little Yunair is here." The emperor waved his hand, signaling for me to go over. Dozens of pairs of pleading eyes in the hall stared at me. I chose my words carefully as I spoke. "Imperial father, are you truly going to marry Lady Song as empress?" He probably doesn't even know what Lady Song looks like. He just purely wants to disgust Vice Minister Song, that's all. "Look how anxious you are." The emperor gave me a chiding look. "What I have. How could I leave you out?" "Doesn't Vice Minister Song also have a son? I bestow him upon you. One for each of us, father and daughter." "Oh, one for each." My eyes widened. "What? Not enough?" The emperor pondered for a moment. "I'll give little Yuna something better later." "All right, that's enough. Court dismissed." The emperor was satisfied. He waved his hand and left, leaving behind a group of officials whose eyes were black with despair and me, stunned in place. That night, Lady Song entered the palace. Although I had never met her, I had heard some of her deeds and knew she was a woman of unyielding integrity who would certainly not compromise. "I'm afraid someone's going to get killed." I quickly changed into my clothes and rushed towards Imperial Father's bedchamber. "Princess." But the maidservant behind me called out, stopping me. 2 or 3 maidservants gathered around. "Where are you going?" "Young Master Song has already arrived at your bedchamber, waiting for you to grant him your favour." I stopped dead in my tracks. My face visibly turned crimson. I said in disbelief, He's willing." "Probably, right?" 3 months ago, I secretly snuck out of the palace to see him once, but only once. Whether he even recognized me was a question. "Princess?" The maidservant beside me called out again. I coughed, straightened my dress. "Since that's the case, it wouldn't be good to keep young Master Song waiting. Let's go back." "With such beauty before me, Imperial Father, you'll have to pray for yourself." The entire bedchamber had been decorated. Red gauze drapes fell ambiguously to the floor, leaving vague, wavering shadows with every gust of wind. Song Jingjun sat there, perfectly still. I pressed my hand to my chest, trying to calm my restless heart. "Young Master Song?" I took a step forward, staring at the person behind the gauze, hesitant to get any closer. Imperial Father's bestowed marriage was also unexpected for me. As long as you say you're unwilling, I'll let you go, and I will explain to Imperial Father myself. Silence. Young Master Song, everything I'm saying comes from the bottom of my heart. Although I fancy you, you might not remember, 3 months ago, we met once. At that time, you were crossing the bridge with an umbrella, and I was watching you from afar from upstairs. Still silence. I racked my brains. Young Master Song, my Imperial Father is absurd, but he definitely doesn't have ill intentions. Your mother must be fine. I have a way to bring both of you out. If you don't want to talk to me, you can nod. Do you want to leave the palace or stay? If you want to leave the palace, just nod. If you want to stay, then don't move. The figure on that end remained motionless. I forcibly suppressed the joy in my heart and played coy as I added a sentence. Then, young Master Song, shall I come in? The sheer curtain was completely pulled open. On the bed, Song Jingjun's mouth was gagged with a cloth, and he was tied up on my bed in an extremely undignified posture. His long eyelashes trembled slightly and seemed to be covered with a layer of mist. He raised his eyes and glanced at me. My breathing hitched. That look, 3 parts panic, 3 parts resentment, and 4 parts shyness. The more Song Jingjun was like this, the more I wanted to step forward and tease him. Just as I took a step forward, I suddenly came to my senses. This guy is practically a fox spirit. I almost became a beast. I didn't even dare to look at Song Jingjun again and quickly walked out. Who on earth did this? The maid peeked out half her head from behind a tree and asked faintly, "Princess, this is all His Majesty's intention, don't you like it?" "Like it, of course I like it. But this kind of thing is only fun with someone mutually attracted to you. Playing with someone you barely know is purely just humiliation." Song Jingjun's gaze at me was as if he wanted to burn a hole through me. I furiously ran towards the Emperor's bedchamber, but was stopped outside the hall. Apparently 2 shichen later, the candles in the Emperor's bedchamber still hadn't gone out, and water had already been called for twice. Well now, Lady Song wasn't saved, and Song Jingjun was also humiliated like this. I closed my eyes and untied the ropes binding Song Jingjun. If I told you this wasn't my intention, would you believe me? Song Jingjun tidied his clothes, his voice very cold. "Thank you, Princess." My heart shattered into pieces, watching him walk out. Half an incense stick later, Song Jingjun, who had walked out upright, was carried back horizontally by 2 secret guards. His Majesty's intention is for young Master Song to stay in the princess's bedchamber tonight until the princess is fully satisfied. I exchanged a look with the lying Song Jingjun and we both turned our heads away. Sleepless night. As long as I made even a slight movement, even just turning over or scratching my head, Song Jingjun beside me would vigilantly open his eyes. Being stared at like that in the middle of the night was truly creepy, making it impossible to sleep. Finally, I couldn't bear it anymore and held up 3 fingers. "I swear, I absolutely will not strip your clothes off while you're asleep, nor will I secretly lean in to kiss you, and I certainly won't put my hand into your clothes to touch your abs. As soon as it's daylight, just as soon as it's daylight, I will immediately let you leave and also persuade Imperial Father to release Lady Song. So, stop staring at me, okay?" Under the flickering candlelight, Song Jingjun's face intermittently lit up and faded. He lightly responded with a sound, "Emweme." Don't know if he believed it or not, but at least he turned his back. After a while, I couldn't stand it anymore, so I quietly reached my hand behind me and scratched my butt. When I opened my eyes again, Song Jingjun had already turned around. He was staring straight at me, his eyes shining brightly. Just like this, an entire night passed. I successfully overslept and was eventually woken up by a maid who burst in. Oh no, Princess Gisun, Your Majesty, His Majesty, he..." I quickly changed into my clothes, even thinking of the worst possible outcome. What happened to Imperial Father? Is he still alive? Have all the imperial physicians in the palace arrived? I was pacing back and forth anxiously. How could it be so sudden? The maid looked at me in surprise. "Princess, aren't you thinking a bit too far ahead?" His Majesty is full of vigor. He just took in a new concubine this morning." The curtain was pulled open, and the faces of the ministers were like an overturned palette, green, red, purple, black, with faces of every colour. Among them it was attendant Song, only his face was green, noticeably green. A minister knelt in the centre of the hall, trembling, both his legs shaking. "Your Majesty, no, my daughter is just 17 and has just become engaged." The demon child emperor waved his hand. "Isn't it just about marrying your daughter off to that old geezer of a prime minister as a concubine? Your daughter is 17 and the prime minister is already 70. Why not enter the palace as a consort? I'm still 30 years younger than the prime minister. Isn't that a better deal?" Come, prime minister, don't you hide either. My dragon eyes are on you. You tell me, will you yield or not?" The ministers looked at each other in dismay. That prime minister's partisan who offered a remonstrance even if it meant death yesterday, once again bravely stepped forward. "Your Majesty, this is not proper. If your Majesty still insists on going your own way, then this subject. He looked at the stone pillar again. "Enough!" The emperor spread his hands. "Is he going to die again?" "He didn't manage to die yesterday. Your ancestors must be knocking their heads raw underground, right? Come, die for me to see today. No one is to stop him. They say a cat has 9 lives, but I think beloved minister has as many lives as 9 cats, able to die and revive every day." Provoked to this extent, that minister's face flushed red, and he charged towards the stone pillar in one breath. He slammed on the brakes right before the stone pillar, gently touching it in the end. His eyes rolled back, and he fell down stiffly. Not a drop of blood was seen. All the ministers couldn't bear to look, and closed their eyes. I was stunned by his superb acting. Instead, the emperor was very calm. "No napping allowed in court. Someone, take my beloved minister away." "Oh, right. While my beloved minister hasn't revived yet, bring in his 80-year-old mother from his home. Today, I have double happiness. I'm taking 2 imperial concubines." The minister who was feigning death suddenly started to twitch. "Look at this beloved minister. He even needs someone to coax him to sleep. Ying Yi, quickly help him." Ying Yi delivered a hand chop to his neck. Now that person completely quieted down and passed out. As I watched as the emperor left court and quickly followed him. "Imperial father." I lowered my voice and said tactfully, "Yesterday you took an empress, and today 2 more concubines. Imperial father, you still need to pay attention to your health." The emperor stopped, a faint smile on his face. "It's my fault. I wasn't paying attention and forgot about our Xiao Yuna. It's a shame there aren't any more this time. Handsome men and such, I'll make it up to you next time." "Wait a minute. Is that what I meant?" I lay on the couch, tossing and turning, unable to sleep. Finally, I leaped up, deciding to go and explain myself to Imperial Father. However, the heavens were not on my side. As I went out, a grand phoenix chariot swayed past, just as it drove by my palace entrance. I called out to a young eunuch, "Who is inside here?" "Her Majesty the Empress." It seems I'll have to find Imperial Father another day. Just as I turned around, another Fengluan Chunan carriage drove by. I, with a trembling voice, "And who is this one now?" "This is Consort Shu." Consort Shu, she was originally supposed to marry the old Prime Minister, but my Imperial Father snatched her away. They, the 3 of them, together. The eunuch glanced at me doubtfully. "How can 3 people be enough? Princess, there's more than that." As soon as he finished speaking, the last Fengluan Chunan carriage appeared at the far end of the road. Imperial Father has truly gone mad. He really won't even spare someone's 80-year-old mother and is playing it this big 4 people together. My vision went black and white, my legs felt weak, and I leaned on the palace gate, barely managing to stand steady. Until a corner of blue appeared in my line of sight. The Emperor specially permitted Song Jingjun to enter the palace, but only to my sleeping quarters. Princess. Song Jingjun, dressed in a blue scholar's robe, seemed to want to reach out and steady me, but his hand hovered in mid-air before he pulled it back. "Can you let me see the Empress?" Even just a glance to let me know mother is well, that would be enough. This was the first time Song Jingjun had asked me for help. Of course you can. I unconsciously glanced at the Fengluan Chunen carriages that had disappeared around the corner. However, not right now. Tomorrow morning I'll take you to see her. How about that? What happened last night was indeed absurd. I took the opportunity to try and salvage my image a bit, inviting Song Jingjun in to sit and have some tea while frantically winking at my maid. The maid understood and gestured back at me. The moment I stepped through the palace gates, I inwardly groaned. Oh no. Inside, there were even more of those suggestive gauze curtains than yesterday, gently swaying with the wind. Song Jingjun stiffened all over. Young Master Song, don't panic. Imperial Father had all these set up yesterday, and we haven't had time to clear them away yet. I pulled aside the gauze curtains layer by layer, explaining as I went. I've always loved reading the classics by sages and saints, never sneak out of the palace disguised as a man, and never go to brothels to admire handsome men. Yesterday's incident was a pure misunderstanding. When I pulled back the last layer of gauze curtain, I even specially turned back. Look, I even have a geography book on my bedside table. Song Jingjun didn't say a word. His dark eyes quivered slightly. A geography book. That's right. My maid grew up with me. You could say the people who understand me best in this world are Imperial Father and her. She must have understood the look in my eyes just now. However, following Song Jingjun's gaze, on my bedside table were brazenly placed, pure lover, fiery hot, top 10 ancient handsome men revealed, and snatching the husband and running away is so exciting. The maid hid behind a pillar, winking at me triumphantly, as if saying, I know you well enough, don't I? Oh no, I'm screwed. But Song Jingjun already saw yesterday's scene. What else is there to panic about? This incredibly talented young Master Song was silent for a moment. Princess truly is well read. Actually, if you can't praise, you don't have to. Early the next morning, I had Song Jingjun dress up as a guard and brought him into the imperial harem. This was also my first time seeing Lady Song. She was wearing a scarlet dress and leaning by the window, reading a book. A magnolia branch stretched into the window, a picture of tranquil times. If one ignored the lipstick mark on Lady Song's cheek. My father doesn't have a habit of wearing lipstick, so this mark clearly wasn't left by him. My heart was in torment. On one hand, I felt my father had been cuckolded. On the other, I felt he deserved it. Those who cuckold others will always be cuckolded themselves. Song Jingjun and Lady Song bore a 5/10 resemblance. The fine lines at the corners of her eyes instead added a touch of charm to Lady Song. I prattled on about this and that, deliberately stalling for time so that Song Jingjun, disguised as a guard and waiting outside the door, could get a few more glances at his mother. Before leaving, I couldn't help but ask, "Do you want to leave the palace?" Lady Song paused for a moment, then quickly curved her lips into a smile. Silly child, I am already the Empress. I silently repeated the sentence once and almost tripped over something as I left. Looking down, it was actually a black men's outfit, wadded up and stuffed under the chair, with only a corner peeking out. It was identical to the one I wore when I sneaked out of the palace. I pretended not to see anything, turned and left. Since I was already here, I thought I might as well visit the other two concubines on the way. Song Jingjun quietly followed behind me. I comforted him. Don't worry, I will definitely make Imperial Father release Lady Song from the palace. Princess, thank you. Song Jingjun stopped. He turned back. But I always feel that Mother is happier in the palace than outside. She used to like writing poetry, but she had to manage all the big and small matters of the mansion, and also take care of her aged grandfather and grandmother. She rarely even left the house. Nowadays, she can do what she wants to do, write what she wants to write, and no one can stop her. If she can live better in the palace, I'd rather she never come back. Consort. Anne was old and frail. It was said she caught a cold, making it inconvenient for her to receive guests. This frail 80-year-old, my dad even sent the Phoenix and Dragon Spring Favor carriage to pick her up last night. He's simply a beast. No, If my dad is a beast, then what am I? Consort Shu, however, was there. She was about my age and was originally going to be sent by her biological father, who sought glory by selling his daughter to be the 37th concubine of the old chancellor. But my dad brought her into the palace with a single word. We hit it off immediately. First, she showed me the storybooks she had written. Rejecting the crown prince, the useless third miss ran away with a ball. Madam on top, General pamper me lightly. Scheming chancellor and naive wife. Both of us were in tears, feeling like we had found a kindred spirit. Only you praise me like this. Consort Shu was lost in thought, holding the storybook. My dad would only tear up my notebooks and scold me for being shameless, saying how could a young lady from a good family do such a thing? I sometimes always feel like he raised me just to find a suitable opportunity to marry me off. I'm merchandise. Once I'm sold, it can help my dad get promoted and gain titles. That's why he never allowed me to write these things, fearing that if word got out, my reputation would suffer and it would devalue me instead. She and I leaned together and talked for a very, very long time. Before leaving, I asked her, "Do you want to stay in the palace?" "Of course." Consort Shu replied very quickly. "In the palace, I can endlessly write storybooks, and one day I will become a famous master of storybooks. There's also a stable in the palace, so even if I can't become a master of storybooks, I can still be a horse trainer." "Get up," she suddenly said sternly. I subconsciously obeyed her words and stood up straight. Consort Shu let out a snicker. "What are you doing? I'm demonstrating how I usually train my little horses." I also awkwardly laughed a few times. As soon as I stepped out, Song Jingjun was waiting for me there. He looked up, gazing at the magnolia sea tree, his profile impossibly beautiful. "Let's go," I said. "We're going back to the palace." I admit, I still haven't given up on Song Jingjun. And that Song Jingjun keeps flitting around in front of me all day, flitting back and forth, making my heart flutter. Seeing that the forceful snatching tactic wasn't working on him, I started considering the boiling a frog slowly approach. After dinner, I asked him to go with me for a walk in the imperial garden. This time, I specifically dismissed the maids. But I didn't expect that we would run into Madame Song, disguised as a man and dressed in night-travelling clothes, in a corner of the imperial garden. Her expression was very cold. "What do you want from me?" "Madam, ever since you entered the palace, Master has always been thinking of—" Madame Song let out a cold laugh, interrupting him. "Madam, I am the Empress. What do I have to do with him, Song Guanyan?" That person stammered. He fumbled a bit and pulled a letter out from his sleeve. "This is what Master asked me to deliver." Song Jingjun and I were far away, and the lantern light was dim, so we couldn't see a single word clearly. Madame Song finished reading in a flash, directly tore the letter into pieces, and threw them onto that person. Dream on. That person, however, was not angry, but instead continued to persuade. "Madam, Master advises you to commit suicide to preserve your honour, also for the sake of the Song family. Everyone in the world knows that His Majesty forcibly took a minister's wife. If you, madam, do not die, everyone in the world will criticise His Majesty. How will Master and the Song family deal with themselves then? Madam, you absolutely must not commit a heinous mistake for the sake of temporary glory and wealth. Even if you don't think for Master, can you not think for the young Master? He is your only child." Bullshit honour, screw his consideration. A fire ignited within Madame Song. That Song Guanyan stole my poems, stole my essays, wouldn't let me leave the house, yet he gained a good reputation outside, and now he even wants me to commit suicide for him. He's afraid that just after elevating my sister to the status of a co-wife, the world's spittle will drown him, right? Song Guanyan is dreaming. I really want to throw those poems and essays in front of him and ask him how many words his blockhead brain could possibly write. These words shook me, leaving my whole body numb. Minister Song's literary talent was outstanding. Back then, my father and I had heard of his reputation, even from our distant fiefdom. I never expected that all of it was stolen by him. After marrying a talented woman, he stole her poems and essays, wore down her will, locked her in the back courtyard, and wasted her entire life. Beneath that facade of a talented scholar hid a corrupt, rotten-smelling thief driven by greed. Song Jingjun stared blankly at Madame Song not far away. He usually admired his father the most. As a child, he could already recite hundreds of Minister Song's poems and essays. He never thought that each one he recited was like a stab in Madame Song's heart. Mother. He walked out from behind the tree, his voice already hoarse. I can take you out of the palace. Can we really get out of here? Every time I snuck out of the palace, I had that shadow guard with King Gong take me flying out. Crawling through a dog hole is a first. I discovered this place by accident. We can give it a try. On the top of the wall, a dark figure quietly descended. It was precisely the Emperor's shadow guard, Shadow 1. In this palace, anything you do won't escape his eyes. How about I go to Imperial Father? Before she even finished speaking, Madame Song had already crawled out through the dog hole. Crawling through a dog hole with your sweetheart and your sweetheart's mother. This experience is probably rare in the world. Seeing that Shadow 1 had no intention of stopping me, I also crawled in through the dog hole. The dog hole led directly to the palace path, and after several turns, the three of us finally arrived at the Song Manor. At that time, Attendant Song and his young and beautiful new bride were sound asleep in the room, and Madame Song pulled off their quilt. 2 bare bodies appeared before everyone. Ah! The new madam screamed, clutching the quilt tightly. Attendant Song then came to his senses. He squinted his eyes, looked at Madame Song, then at Song Jingjun. Alan, Jingjun, why are you here? Madame Song ignored him. She looked at her younger sister next to her, who was clutching the quilt tightly. They had similar faces, but upon closer inspection, they didn't look alike anymore. Did you marry him voluntarily? The new madam looked at Madame Song in horror. Yes, yes. Attendant Song shielded the new madam behind him. Alan, we are from the same root. Why are you so eager to harm each other? Why bother your sister? If you have something to say, come at me. All right, I'll come at you. Madame Song slowly reached for the dagger at her waist. Then I want you to return, one by one, the things you stole from me over these years. If you can't produce them, then I'll just have to take something else instead. Even now, Minister Song was still making excuses. Alan, what crazy talk are you spouting? What have I ever stolen from you? You should hurry back to the palace. Things are different now than they used to be, lest His Majesty finds out and sends people to apprehend you. Besides, husband and wife are fundamentally one body. Yours, mine. Why distinguish so clearly? If you're angry about that letter of mine, you could just say so directly. Why humiliate me in front of the child? What are you holding in your hand? What are you going to do? Alan, Alan, ah. For the following scene, my eyes were covered by someone's hand. What happened? Song Jingjun's voice carried a slight tremor. Princess, it's dawn. Accompanied by several screams, a sliver of dawn white appeared outside the window. It's dawn. Lady Song went down with a knife, turning Minister Song into a eunuch. This incident shook the court, and memorials to depose the Empress piled up into a small mountain. But the Emperor did not depose the Empress. He deposed Minister Song. Well done. Those things rightfully belong to Jiang Minglan. What did Song Guanyan have to do with them? Also, don't keep calling her Lady Song. She has a name. Jiang Minglan. Every night, 3 Phoenix Dragon Spring favour carriages would still pass by my palace gate. I was still too curious, so I pulled Song Jingjun along and secretly followed them. Then I saw, Pong! I've won. How come Grandma won again? Let's play another round. I'm not playing with you anymore. The Emperor quietly left the table. I still have court tomorrow, and it's not good to overexert myself at night. I'm almost gambling away the national treasury. How can you just quit just like that? Jiang Minglan put one foot on the chair. The minority obeys the majority. Now, those who agree to 2 more rounds, please raise your hand. Li Xue and Jiang Minglan both raised their hands. Grandma Anne smiled, looking at everyone, and also raised her hand. I leaned against the window. Never would have thought after all this They four were playing mahjong here every night. No wonder that eunuch said last time that 3 people weren't enough, insisting on 4. Let's just play one more hand. Grandma Anne lowered her head and coughed. I also want to go to rest early tonight. Why are you coughing again? Didn't the imperial physician come to see you last time? Are you not taking your medicine properly again? I am. This is an old illness. It's not the imperial physician's fault. Grandma Anne coughed until tears came to her eyes. Before I couldn't sleep all day and night, but now I can sleep. Not only can I sleep, but I also dream. As long as I dream, I'll dream of that person. There's never been a better life than this. Jiang Minglin raised her chin. I'm not satisfied yet. Why don't we call the 2 children outside to play around? The spring chill is biting, yet you 2 aren't afraid of the cold outside. Song Jingjun and I exchanged glances and stood up at the same time. How was this discovered? I hadn't even figured it out yet when Li Shua pressed me onto the chair. Come on. But I can't. I turned my head to look at Song Jingjun. Can you? You 2 stinky cobblers can definitely be worth a zhuge liang. Come on. Facts proved that in the first round, Song Jingjun and I were still bewildered. But by the second round, we had already started dominating. 3 rounds later, Li Shua's pockets were cleaner than her face. Song Jingjun also had a smile on her face. You yield. No, 1 more round. Li Shua became braver with each setback. Just then, Grandma Anne, who was resting on the soft couch, suddenly woke up with a start. Zhou Lang. Everyone looked in that direction. It took Grandma Anne a while to recover before she gradually came back to her senses and realized where she was. I dreamed of him again. Grandma Anne smiled apologetically. This time he walked so far, he said he had waited too long, and he didn't want to wait for me anymore. Who is he? I asked blankly. He's Grandma Anne's beloved. Li Shua added. Back then, Grandma Anne's beloved was still a poor scholar, and their marriage was vehemently opposed by their families. Later, Grandma was forced to marry into the Gu family, and her beloved successively achieved success in the imperial examinations. Decades passed, but they still kept each other in their hearts. A few years after Old Man Gu passed away, Grandma Anne properly arranged for the concubines, sent off her parents, and her son also achieved official success. She didn't ask for a single penny from the Gu family, wanting to remarry her beloved, but was obstructed by her own son. Remarry? Gu Zhicheng scanned his mother up and down. You, mother, don't joke. You should just peacefully stay at home and enjoy your old age. Don't think about those pointless things. You're already in your 50s or 60s, and you're talking to me about love, about feelings. Do you want outsiders to point fingers at me and my father? Do you want my father to not rest in peace even underground? You just stay put at home. As for your Mr. Zhou, forget about him. Grandma. Anne thought her son would eventually understand her difficulties and change his mind, and so she waited year after year, until she received the news of her beloved's death. He must be resenting me. For so many years he wouldn't even come into my dreams. Grandma Anne stared at the candlelight in a daze. Now he's willing to come into my dreams. Does that mean he's forgiven me? The imperial physician says my illness won't last much longer. I only regret that I couldn't marry him in this lifetime. This is easy to handle. To fulfill Grandma Anne's dream, everyone got busy. The red wedding dress was rushed. I stayed at the entrance every day, watching the artisans work. Until everyone had bloodshot eyes from exhaustion, we finally delivered this wedding dress to Grandma Anne. At that time, Grandma Anne was lying in bed, a night-long cough making it impossible for her to sleep well. Her dreams were fragmented, and she was already starting to forget what her beloved looked like. Look, Grandma Anne, the wedding dress is here. I held it with both hands and offered it to her. Now, no one can stop you 2. Grandma Anne, with trembling hands, took the wedding dress. The road out of the palace was long, and the emperor had given an order that no one was allowed to stop us. Grandma Anne insisted on getting out of the carriage and walking. She said, For all these years, he walked so many steps towards me. Now it's my turn to walk towards him. Li Shua and I each supported one of her arms, passing through the palace path, through the bustling streets and alleys, and walking towards the mountain. Who's that wearing the wedding dress? That old woman must be crazy. She's so old. Who would marry her? That person's words weren't even finished when Song Jingjun glared them back into silence with a single look. Grandma Anne walked more steadily and faster. In the end, she didn't even need Li Shua and me to support her anymore. A shy smile hung on her face as she looked straight at the tombstone not far away. "Zhou Lang, have you come to pick me up?" We stopped not far away, watching Grandma Anne leaning against the tombstone, speaking intermittently to her beloved. When she got tired of talking, she gently rested her head on the tombstone, looking very attached. The sky gradually darkened and the leaves rustled. I stepped forward, holding a cloak. "Grandma, don't catch a cold." "Grandma." Anne closed her eyes, smiling gently. She didn't make a sound. Everyone had a premonition of something. Song Jingjun cradled the red bridal veil and gently placed it over Grandma Anne and the tombstone. "You married him." We all saw it. The moonlight was bright. The chirping of insects and birds in the mountains and forests was endless, and they all saw it. The imperial harem was missing a concubine. Lord Li was itching for action, and that very night he sent a secret manual on winning favour to his daughter. Li Shua wasn't the prettiest, but she was young. If she gained imperial favour and gave birth to a little prince, it would be enough to bring glory to his Li family. Li Shua discarded that secret manual for winning favour. How absurd! I don't want anyone's love. My mind is completely set on one thing, writing something explicit. Saying this, she mysteriously slipped something into my hand. She said it contained a secret and that Song Jingjun and I needed to bathe and burn incense at night before reading it together. I actually believed her. As a result, that night, in front of Song Jingjun, I mysteriously opened a little explicit book. The protagonist's names were even mine and Song Jingjun's. The first page was about BDSM. Fearing we wouldn't understand, there were even illustrations. Simply unforgivable. Furious, I kicked open Li Shua's door the next day. "Li Shua, are you crazy?" "What's wrong, Xiao Yuna?" She turned back with an innocent look. Did I not write it well enough? I was still thinking, if anyone can, then next I'll write about horses and horses. Whatever. I let out a sigh. Just don't write about people and horses. Who knew? Li Shua's eyes lit up. That's right. Why can't I write about people and horses? A general fighting on the battlefield and his blood-sweating horse fighting alongside him. The two are close friends, sworn brothers. Why can't it be love? Well, that directly gave her inspiration. Li Shua loves to write colourful things and also likes taming horses. She thought for half a month, then finally, leading the little horse she had tamed, decided to go out and make her way in the world. Watching her receding figure, the emperor sighed. From now on, we'll be short one for mahjong. Song Jingjun and I are very strange. Separately, we're two bunglers, but together it's like Zhuge Liang possessed us. So my dad treated Song Jingjun and me as mahjong buddies. How about... He stroked his chin, pondering. Should I take another concubine in? Heh. Song Jingjun and I exchanged a glance, knowing only that those court officials were going to suffer again. In the 5th year of Yunnan, the emperor named me crown princess. In the same year, Song Jingjun and I got married. Outside were the lively sounds of firecrackers. We finished our wedding toast wine. Tell me, where has Li Shua walked to now? Her last letter said she had already passed Hongtown, counting the days. She's probably in Snow City now. Then what about Grandma Anne and Grandpa Joe? They should have seen us get married, right? Definitely. As long as the moon shines on a place, they can all see. And your mother? Last time I saw a lip print on her face again, did she secretly sneak out of the palace to see beauties and not bring me? Next time, I'll let her take you, but you can only stay for half an hour. If it's over half an hour, I'll come looking for you. I tilted my head, raising a hand to brush Song Jingjun's Adam's apple. Then what about now? Song Jingjun's Adam's apple bobbed, and lust slowly crept into his eyes. Now. He slowly pulled a long rope from under the covers. Right now. My eyes widened. This rope was clearly the one he used when he was tied up and brought into my bedchamber back then. Oh no, Song Jingjun has learned to be bad,